Was in fact the forerunner of this two-seat T-33 you see in front of us. Martin Tesley, who's flying this today, was posted back to Norway recently from Luke Air Force Base in Arizona, where he's been the Royal Norwegian Air Force Senior Representative and Commander Flying, and also instructing on the still very new F-35 Lightning II. The other interesting connection between this aircraft and the Korean combat zone of the MiGs was the sound of that engine you hear. It's a Rolls-Royce Nene engine fitted to the Canadair T-33, and it's almost the same engine as that you may have seen and heard in the MiG-15s on previous occasions here. And the reason being, the Russians bought 40 of these engines, and instead of legally acquiring the right to produce them, they reverse engineered and made their own Nene engine and just called it the Klimov instead. Used by the US Navy initially, and then developed through a whole range of operators. It was in service with not just with the United States Air Force, but the United States Navy, the Japanese Air Self-Defense Force, and the German Air Force as well. Keeping in service around the world and not being retired. The helicopter was designed by Aerosuperbatic in the south of France in the late 1960s. It still is, but was used in service as a 5-seat aircraft, as a battlefield observation, light transport, reconnaissance, and in the case of the British Army, also used as an air observation post. And they were the people that directed the artillery fire that you would have seen here, making sure that they get as close to the target as possible. The Gazelle was the first helicopter to feature the distinctive ducted fan on the tail rotor there, known as a fenestron, coming from the French word, originally from the Latin actually, but fenetra meaning window, of course. A very agile helicopter and speedy too, good cruising speed of 164 miles an hour and a maximum speed of 193. Still holds the record as the fastest single-engine helicopter manufactured to date. And what the guys will be doing for you here, as you can see right now, a series of coordinated pairs maneuvers, and really zippy little helicopter, powerful, responsive, no great devices, and frequently referred to as the Ferrari of the skies. Less kind people would often just call it the screaming chicken leg. And you can see the shape of that now as they do a pirouette, maintaining a good hover position. That high-pitched whine there caused by the compressor intake system at the front of the engine. Two aircraft, Tim's flying Gordon today. That's the one in Royal Navy colours. Built in 1976 and out of the Western factory in Yeovil. First flown in July of that year and delivered to the Royal Naval Air Station at Culdrose in Cornwall, where it served for 26 years in the training role with 705 Naval Air Squadron. Paint scheme you see on that today exactly the same as the one you would have seen in the time in the role, and the large black shark motif you can see on the rear fin, representing the Royal Navy Sharks helicopter display team logo. Also flown by one of Royal Navy's most famous test pilots, indeed the country's, UK's most famous test pilot, Eric Winkle-Brown, just died a couple of years ago, and a marvellous chap. In the other aircraft, we've got Andrew Foxley. He's in Ginger today. Flew for the first time in 1980. In any season before now. It's tremendous that so many people have been investing. It is thanks to the investors, of course, that we have these aircraft and a magnificent sight this is, and an extraordinary aircraft produced during the World War II era. Between the years of 1941 and 1945, primarily armed with 8.50 caliber machine guns, and in the fighter-bomber ground attack role, it could carry 5-inch rockets or a bomb load of 2,500 pounds. When fully loaded, the P-47 weighed up to 8 tons, making it one of the heaviest fighters of the war. Designed around that huge R2800 double Wasp engine, I find aircraft with just one Wasp, and that's pretty meat. Fighter Squadron, part of the 48th Fighter Group. Flying the aircraft today, John Gowdy. Just it's got aviation in his bloodstream, this guy. Started gliding at a very young age as a teenager, very much a hanger-rat sort of guy, hanging around, doing his best, sweeping the floors, cutting the grass, helping everybody else get the aircraft ready for the next day's flying. And that is how he managed to get his license as early as possible. Hundreds of hours towing gliders before joining Air Atlantique as a cadet pilot, and thus an early love with vintage aircraft, many summers being spent with the company's DC-3 and Dragon Rapides. Managed a super job flying Twin Otters as well with the British Antarctic Survey. Music now called Ondina, and as I say, very safe stuff as well. Giving us an opportunity to see the effect of those fireworks. And even in the daylight, look at the speeds at which they come off. The skids are absolutely loaded with different firework effects. Aircraft with a single 3-bladed main rotor and a piston-powered engine. A very cost-effective platform used primarily for training and for agricultural purposes, such as spraying. Powered by a 190 horsepower Lycoming engine. Had a slightly larger rotor and gave a marked increase in performance over its predecessor, the 269. And you can see that power and agility being put to full use by Brendan as he gives us a rock and roll performance in this extraordinary helicopter.
beautiful engines. Today we have a Hurricane with a Merlin engine fitted. We have a Mark 19 Spitfire with the Griffin power plant, and then we have the two Pratt & Whitneys that are powering the Dakota. Now today, ladies and gentlemen, we have it. Break, go! Fast is giving the call. We hear fighters break, go. We'll see the Hurricane peeling round, getting ready for the first of the fighter filler, with the Dakota to follow, as the Spitfire will go crowd left and line herself up for the first of the display. Now this pass is dedicated to Mr. Proctor, so if you all take a moment to give him a big wave as he comes through. Suggs will be waving the wings of our aircraft today, and we do hope that the family remember this momentous occasion. And there's that beautiful, slow wag of the wings from the Hurricane today. I'll see the Hurricane down the road from us today. The temperature and humidity monitoring flight made daily ascents to 30,000 feet to gather meteorological information. This aircraft, on July the 11th, 1957, was flown to Biggin Hill from Duxford by World War II fighter ace Group Captain Jamie Rankin, DSO DFC, in formation with two other THUM Flight Mark 19 Spitfires, PS-853 and PS-915, to form the historic aircraft flight, which later evolved into the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. Superb aircraft today. We have Flight Lieutenant Andy Priest, one of only two full-time pilots on the squadron. Andy is the BBM opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. We can see left Andy coming down the hill. On the right-hand side, we have Suggs lining the Hurricane up. So get your cameras ready for the first of the fighter takeovers. That was perfectly executed from Mark and Andy today. So as we see Andy depart, please welcome Squadron Leader Mark Sugden onto the display line, piloting Hurricane LF363 today. Limited between 1994 and 1998, and then rejoined the BBMF after 7 years out of action. She has been with us ever since. Gorgeous Hurricane today is Squadron Leader Mark Sugden. He's beginning his second season this year with the flight. On completion of flying training, he was posted to the Tornado F3 and to 43 Squadron at Royal Air Force Lucas. During his time, he has participated in multinational exercises across Europe, the Middle East and the US, as well as conducting QRA in the UK and the Falkland Islands. Captained by Flight Lieutenant Neil Farrell, with our navigator, Squadron Leader Mark Garland, and our Loadmaster Sergeant Jay Warden that sat in the back. This Dakota was constructed as a C-47A by Douglas at Long Beach, California, USA in 1943. It was initially delivered to the US Air Force on the 7th of September 1943. However, a little over a week later, on the 16th of September, it was transferred to the Royal Canadian Air Force and redesignated as a Dakota 3. You here today are the two Pratt & Whitney twin Wasp radial engines that are in a double row configuration and air-cooled, producing around 1,200 brake horsepower per engine. The Canadians allocated this Dakota the Royal Canadian Air Force serial number KG661. However, in the late 1970s, it was realised that the serial number KG661 had, in fact, previously been allocated to another Dakota, which had crashed and which was subsequently written off. The error was reported, and in July 1979, the Dakota was allocated the modern serial number ZA947, which explains why the serial number worn by our Dakota does not match the age or the era of the aircraft. She currently wears the colour scheme of C-47 FZ692 of number 233 Squadron around the D-Day period in 1944. Now the gorgeous D-Day stripes that you see painted across her wings today. Out of the Orbit 360, we'll get ready for the dirty pass. This is where Faz will initiate.
Get their hands on lots of other warbirds. Well into their fourth season now, the Fireflies, and if you were here Friday night you would have seen them doing an incredible show armed with neon lights and fireworks on their wings. An absolutely spectacular evening it was, but now we're doing a similar routine in the sky in terms horsepower, 4-cylinder Lycoming engine, and the ability to pull +6 or -3 gives you lots of flexibility in aerobatics, but also with a two-seat tandem cockpit. Of course, very busy in the cockpit as well, with the stick and also the rudders going all over the place as he does his best to both go into these manoeuvres and then of course rapidly recover from them. It's pretty standard in a lot of flying training, of course, to put aircraft into unusual manoeuvres, because you should be trained at all times to recover from them if you inadvertently enter such a thing. He's got all sorts of favourites here. His Tower of Power will be coming up a little later on, but he loves his pinwheel, of course, when he spins it on its side, and double hammerheads. But it's also, you'll get him to see literally hovering this aircraft in the sky, just using whatever power or gyroscopic manoeuvre there is left in the airframe. He told me he was going to vary routine. I'll be watching carefully because it's not his standard, but here he is now, hovering this extraordinary aircraft. The new wings you see there, new blade wings, referred to as SAW, SAW SAW blade wings, designed by Eddie Sorenman, and a very close collaboration between Richard and him on developing this particular aircraft and getting all the structural analysis right to get this new aircraft approved and I think looking absolutely splendid as well in this colour scheme we have here today.
I said the aircraft is based, frontline crews are based with 815 Naval Air Squadron, and this the squadron supplies all the aircraft that are now at sea. So at the moment this year, the squadron has supplied aircraft to ships operating in the Far East, out around both Japan and Australasia, to the Middle East, around the Gulf and the Indian Ocean, in the Mediterranean, in the Baltic, in the Atlantic, and more significantly in the Caribbean. Many of you will be aware that Hurricane Dorian swept through the Bahamas recently and really devastated the island. There's a helicopter at the moment based in the Royal Fleet Auxiliary Mounts Bay, and that was one of the first on the scene to provide immediate support to the islands. And they've been moving casualties to hospital. They've been providing water and food and medical supplies to those remote areas of the islands that have been badly affected by the hurricane. So, in the right-hand seat today is Lieutenant Chris Reddock. He's here today with about 9 engineers, which is broadly the same composition as a flight when they're on board a ship. Having moved backwards into a over-the-shoulder turn, and then out again for another wing over. I mentioned the weapons and sensors on board. The aircraft has a radar, which I'll point out in a moment, and an electrical optical device, and all of those sensors are linked into the weapons that they carry. Top speed of about 180 to 190 oars back, and from that the machine gun can fire out over towards the vessel it's trying to stop. Something like this. And that completes the Wildcat demonstration.
Engineer and have flown a massive range of Swedish jet aircraft. There's well over 5,000 hours, and has been flying the vintage aircraft for at least 20 years now, including also the Vampires, Hunters, and a whole range of Saabs, as well as the Jazz 37 Viggen. After the Second World War, Sweden needed a strong air defence built around the newly developed jet propulsion technology. A couple of proposals were put forward by Saab. The whole aim of the design very much in the Swedish context of producing a robust aircraft with good short runway performance. Needed to be able to make these short landings on these prepared strips, roadways, and opportunities, but trying also to get low angles of attack to avoid damaging them at the same time. So a very demanding profile to design any aircraft for, and the Swedes right at the sharp end of doing this, and they selected this particular design, a conventional delta wing, but with a small high-set canard. We refer to this as a foreplane there. Another 360. Aerosuperbatic wing-walking team, and they are indeed the magnificent men in their flying machine. Here again for the final time at the 28th Air Show in Southport. Please welcome Aerosuperbatics and the Wingwalkers. Death-defying stuff. They go up and down, 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 and in perfect pairs formation yet again. These girls facing winds of up to 150 miles an hour, but still happy to do their own acrobatics on the top of the wing. Absolutely wonderful, dreamy and romantic aircraft. These used throughout North America, hugely well-known, popular training aircraft for steermen. But the essence of this very much going back to the formative years of the flying circus, when reportedly an American flyer at the end of the First World War called Charles Locklear, with a problem facing him on an aircraft, decided to go out and take a walk along the wing to try and fix it. Extraordinary story, not quite sure how much in that, but he invited a lady friend of his with the equally extraordinary name of Ethel Dare to join him, and they became the first wing-walking act of the 20th century. It was his smarting job to replicate, stay in position, keep the same speed and trajectory, whilst Dave makes sure that they're flying in the right direction and height and speed and everything else as well. In her first season with the team last year, now into her second, was bitten by the wing-walking bug and really excited, just loved going flying with these aircraft. Her background was in trapeze and aerial arts. Loves doing handstands on the top of the wing. Bit of an adrenaline junkie, as many of them are. Tiny little girls, both of them. But Kirsten's favourite view so far was looping over the Gobi Desert at sunset, such is the international reach of this air display team. Coming in straight at you now, potentially good photographic opportunity coming your way. And that's Dave calling the shot as they split right in front of him. Recently, in July 2016, has been dancing professionally within the performance industry. And her most memorable moment, she tells me, was touring Panama, performing with a Mexican circus. You have to work pretty hard as well. It's very competitive to get a slot on the wings with this particular company. Always a challenge, and a much heralded job it is as well, because they're all professionals. Guys now making sure they have eyes on each other. The girls just stretching out. You can see them on the top there. Tipping down now, they're crossover at speeds close to approaching the 300 miles an hour. Equally adrenaline junkie in many respects as well. She loves just doing these roller coasters that you've been watching here. An active skier and scuba diver. She trained in aerial circus art, specializing in silks and hoops. Discovered very much her adventurous spirit whilst touring India and qualified as a multi-star.
Over both Iraq and Afghanistan, has also been involved in a number of exercises and operations worldwide. During his career, Ski has amassed over 4,600 flying hours on 7 different aircraft types. When not displaying, Ski is responsible for training qualified military pilots to become instructors on the Grob Tutor. Today, the Tutor is flown by the Royal Air Force's largest flying school, No. 6 Flying Training School. The Tutor is used to train junior RAF pilots, University Air Squadron students, and air cadets being flown on their experienced flights around the UK. Find out more about these exciting organisations by meeting University Air Squadron students from Manchester and Salford University Air Squadron at our stand today in the Armed Forces Village. The Grob 115E Tutor is operated in partnership with Babcock International Group. It's constructed of a carbon composite material and has a 180 horsepower Lycoming piston engine. The Tutor has a top speed of 212 miles per hour and can achieve a maximum of 6 G, meaning that Ski is subjected to forces 6 times stronger than gravity.
I don't think you wanted to, that's why after you complained it cost you.
When it comes to air experience flying, there are 12 flights serving over 1,000 air cadet squadrons nationwide. You can join the air cadets if you're between 12 and 17 years old. From the age of 30...
This year's Tucan display pilot Flight Lieutenant Liam Matthews is known in the military as a SCIMI qualified flying instructor, meaning he demonstrated above average ability during his own flying training and was selected at an early stage to become a flight instructor.
Okay.
Liam now completing a noddy stall turn and diving back towards the crowd to regain some energy for a quarter clover back onto his display line. 2019 is Liam's first season as a display pilot and the Tucano's final year as a display aircraft, so a very momentous occasion for 72 Squadron and the Tucano. Towards his head where he needed to fly the aeroplane. Liam will now position to perform a favourite manoeuvre of Tucano display pilots, the hanging stall turn. As he runs in once again from the left-hand side, he'll pull up and the aircraft will appear to hang in mid-air in front of you at a height of about 2,500 feet before Liam will recover and dive for some speed. Those members of the audience with cameras, this is a great opportunity to get some photos of the RAF Benevolent Fund logo on the bottom of the airplane. Here we go, Liam pitching up, placing the aircraft onto a knife edge and feeding in the top rudder until the aircraft appears to pause in mid-air. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Liam is now positioning for the very final pass of his display. This will be the very final Royal Air Force Tucano display pass you will see. As Liam now repositions, he's going to descend once again to 100 feet and accelerate to 320 miles an hour. As Liam runs by the crowd one final time, I will keep quiet and allow you to appreciate this moment. All I ask is for a huge round of applause to send off one final time as Liam descends to dip his wing and say goodbye, the 2019 Royal Air Force Tucano display! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an absolute pleasure for Liam and I to present this.
Absolutely wonderful there, but now if we stick the aircraft on the left and right, this is Kirsty and Lingy's first pair's work, and they're performing a series of 4-point rolls into snap rolls. And to form that snap roll there, the pilot completely stalls one of the wings, which enables them to roll as quickly as you've just seen. In fact, the Extra 300 has a roll rate capability of 400 degrees per second. And now Kirsty and Lee are going head-to-head at a staggering closing speed of 350 miles per hour, aiming to miss each other just at the last moment. And now they're going to perform some more rolls for you. But eyes to the left and right again. It's Blaze 1 and 4's turn to take centre stage. And again, they're going to go head-to-head, but this time they're going to throw in a few aileron rolls before crossing in the centre of the display line. And as they pull up, they're going to let the speed bleed away and gravity take control. And so James is a really interesting pilot. He's from New Zealand, and he's actually the youngest ever qualified fast jet pilot for the New Zealand Air Force, qualifying at just 20 years old. He then came to the UK and joined the RAF, where he flew Harriers operationally, and then he joined the Red Arrows, became the leader of the synchro pair, and finished his RAF career as a Typhoon pilot, in fact, at RAF Coningsby. It's a delight to have him on board for a second season, and he's performing there a torque roll as he falls backwards through his own smoke. Wonderful solo routine from James there. Eyes to the left now, we'll see Blades 1, 2 is crazy. Our social channels for a chance to win a flight with Mike Ling and experience this close formation aerobatics for yourself. It truly is unforgettable. And as they finish up that manoeuvre, I'd like to take this moment to thank our sponsors for the 2019 season. For a 5th year in a row, we have our prime sponsor Aerobytes. I think they've absolutely smashed that here today. Well done, the Blades. And now Andy will call them into line of stern formation, which is one behind the other. As they come from right to left, they're going to pull up into the vertical, and they're all going to slide out to their left. This is the Blade Snake. Competition to fly with Lingy Blade 3, but if you can't wait to find out if you've won
that. Belonging to the Strikemaster Flying Club, just down the road in North Wales, based at Harden, where they took off from just a few minutes ago. And as I say, these aircraft have coming from a long lineage of development of that Jet Provost family of aircraft back in the mid-50s, with a need to upgrade the training regime that the Air Force had at the time to replace their old piston engine aircraft. And the Air Ministry at the time, impressed with what they saw, put in order for 40 of the Mark III version, a relatively pedestrian, but in its day, a successful training aircraft indeed, featuring an Armstrong Siddeley Viper jet engine, ejector seats, and a redesigned airframe. Developed really well, moving on into the Mark V with a pressurized cockpit, and then developing towards these sort of aircraft you're seeing now, an armed export version sold to Sri Lanka, Kuwait and Sudan. Pulling out of that expert loop there. Of course, Mark calling all the shots as leaders do. Their aim to make sure they get the fly line, the height and the speeds correct, and the wingman shortly. Coming round in this long turn now. A good opportunity for photographic enthusiasts out there. I think the sun just peeking through now. Get an opportunity as they come in for the strikey split. Head on now, coming in around 300. And there it goes, the strikey split. From this, they'll go into their
carousel maneuver whereby they'll be trying to hold exactly the same position and G loading. You see, and you may hear Mark in the background on my radio as I just check their maneuvers. Slight Canadian lilt there, that's of course, that's where he was born, coming across to UK. Spending many years flying with the Air Force Phantoms and Tornadoes, and then going into commercial flying. They've got tally on each other now, which means they can approach at high speed, closing speed around 600 miles an hour here. And very neatly done indeed. So Mark, with thousands of hours to his credit, being joined now in a very successful season they've had this last year or two, doing incredibly well, really perfecting this display to quite an art form, with his wingman Ollie himself still serving in the Royal Air Force. I think you'll agree, absolutely fantastic. That just adds a real style. Oh, terrific, and the bombs as well. Just shaking the beach. At 600 miles an hour and around 100 feet, RAF Typhoon display. And this is his second year as the Typhoon display pilot, and he's made some adjustments. One of those is this next coming maneuver, the Derry Triangle. This maneuver has been placed throughout the sequence to really show off and showcase the incredible handling and power of the Eurofighter Typhoon. Pulling hard back towards you, Flight Lieutenant Peterson is pulling up to 9G, which means all the blood wants to rush from his head to his feet. His legs to ensure the blood stops from going, and showing the opposite, pushing -3G now, which means all the blood is doing the opposite and going towards his head, pushing him out of his seat. And look closely to see if there's fuel coming from the deck. This aircraft has in terms of its capabilities and performance, and showing that off, doing his high alpha slow pass. Get your cameras ready to see the reheat as he goes into a slow and dirty loop. Joined the Royal Air Force in 1999 and had over 1,000 operating hours on the Typhoon. The Typhoon display team is joined to 29 Squadron, which is based at Royal Air Force Concord.